All right. One of the things that you're doing is you're surrounding yourselves with MAGA type people, and you have a certain lingo and a certain culture. Well, you're losing the capability to communicate with the rest of the world. Because what goes in MAGA world doesn't necessarily go in the real world. Well, you're coming off as propaganda, and that there's an art to propaganda that you lack. Again, you'll say, well, the Democrats, but they're a little more artful. I don't know if you have the American public because people don't tell the truth anymore, right? On who they support. They don't want to be involved until they go to the election booth. Right? Well, because there are racketeering organizations that exist in every community. And some of those racketeering organizations are neither side, they're just crooks, right? Mm. Well, I don't think you're swaying people back to your side. You understand that? So it's like fruitless. I mean, a quick blurb to say your point and walk on if you need to, but you say, well, that's nonsense. That's not based upon anything that's valid or anything that carries weight, and that's it. Because they're artfully psyoping you to react the way they want you to react. And they'll use that against you even more so over time. So again, focus on the standard everyday deportation system the best you can. And then shore that up, increase numbers of things, like housing, judges. You've increased agents, but there's that pipeline that you have to keep going. Now, I think you scored something recently where they let you send people to Sudan or whatever it is. But I think the court didn't rule on the other side. Like, it's kind of an incomplete ruling. Like, what is it that has to happen on the other side once they get to Sudan? Like, if they go to the Sudan and they get locked up, is that lawful? Once that happens, then they're standing to say something else. In other words, deporting, I said this before, deporting somebody to El Salvador, deporting somebody to Sudan is different than deporting them to El Salvador or deporting them to Sudan, where they immediately get locked up and they're detained on the other side. So again, I don't know what the plan is, but right. And again, it doesn't cost much money for a year's worth of, open community housing, again, compared to what it costs here. So again, you might be able to convince something like, I think there was some conversation about life on the other side after deportation. Right, so you might be able to actually work something where they say, because if the court, if you say in the Sudan, and again in a year they can't arrest them and throw them in jail either, but if you say to the Sudan, hey, we expect you to, give them a little hand up. I don't know what it costs. You'd have to look. It's probably pretty cheap. It's not like housing them in a detention facility here. So if you were to send them to Sudan and say, hey, put them up in a house for 3 months or something, or put them in an apartment for 3 months and we'll pay it, and we have to work the price out per head first. Right. And then, at least you did something. Right. Well, I don't know, mostly men, but, I don't think you deported any women in Sudan, but if you do, they can end up as prostitutes. Right. You have to be careful of that, too. Right. There's already some ugly stuff coming out about El Salvador and the gangs, so their allegations is direction it's moving. I imagine their final allegation would be that the president of El Salvador is just trading one gang organization for another. That's just a turf war. That's where they're going. So essentially, the president and his people are taking over the gangland. And if you come along with him, then you don't get thrown in jail. That's where they're going with it. There's another place that they could go. I'm not saying it's true. I think he did something there to fix something, but again, I'm not there, so I can't tell you what the absolute truth is. Well, if you have gangs controlling a country and you make a deal, a truce with one of the gangs, or not one of the gangs, but gang members to get rid of the gangs, and it's part of the law enforcement process in every country. Right. And even when there's war, you do the same thing sometimes. Right. Kind of that back channel operation to get things done. Again, I can't tell you what's going on, but it looks like that's the narrative they're moving on. So that guy, that nutty guy there, let me go to the app area, or app window. Thank you, Larry. That was a while ago that he did that. That was weird. I follow those because I try to connect to it and figure out what they're saying into their head. And I've been receiving a lot of weird stuff. It's probably off of connecting to this. Like, what do they do in the person's head to get them to do it? I can see that. I mean, first off, they're possessed, so it's not a rational thought process. Again, mental illness exists. Mental illness, doctors, all that exists. I'm not dinging all that stuff, but there's a metaphysic to all of it. But that metaphysic takes on, like, what they do to restrict my life and cause the issues in my life. Again, it's a psyop. What they do to do that is from Satan, and what Satan uses to cause mental illness. He'll route it. Your life is routed and you don't realize it. So what they're doing is misrouting your life, and they know it. I mean, if you go to the DSM-5, if you go to clinical psychology, you'll realize that they know that's what they're trying to cause: psychological illness. Right. So again, was this guy operated at all? We don't know. The way he's walking, he looks like a thug, kind of. Anyway, let me see that again. Right. So he's just maybe a young thug that grew up a certain way. Right. Is the chains, or you see how he's got the bebop going? We used to call that the bebop. Showing my age, I guess, there. Right, he looks like a thug. So he may have been a thug his whole life. May use drugs. Thank you, March. I'm not 100%, but it looks like. Right. Thank you, Larry. All right, so you see Rez Pahlavi here. He needs to be healed. It's part of this process. Well, because he looks like he's in a wheelchair there when I looked. Right. We need to heal him. Well, I don't know. It's something the future is requiring a regime change right now. We hit that one point. Right. So Andrew Bailey. Yeah, I've seen Andrew Bailey recently, like in my mind, just like a passing thought. So this is probably it. Let's see what this is. Well, because I might weigh, like, independent of my body, I could weigh in his mind and have a conversation or thought or just a couple thoughts, whatever it is. Right. Thank you, Larry. Just trying to remove a sheriff. It looks like deep state. Okay, yeah, that's probably what I said. The next step would be to arrest him. So they're doing him a favor at this point. I don't know if he feels he's going to be, maybe they still plan to arrest him. I don't know. Right. But again, I don't know if this is like a diversion program type thing. If he, like Larry. Yeah, so, well, that's how they entrench themselves with the deep state system. Then they don't care. They just do whatever they want. Yeah, Andrew Bailey comes like, it's like the question is, it's kind of like, what's he doing now? It's even out there in her. Thank you, Larry. Well, New York's going to be interesting. That may actually get the Republican in. Wow, that's a pretty liberal city. Yeah. Thank you, sure. I used to work with agents that look like that. I guess a couple years later. Down the right, definitely. Shootout in Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is pretty dangerous for operations. Right? A different world. Everybody's a little more keyed up going into those houses. Right. See, I don't think this woman violated any laws. I mean, you probably have quote unquote reasonable suspicion. I don't believe it's probable cause to look at her, but I think she's just like, trying to punk them out, saying, why aren't you here protesting with us? She didn't, say anything about violence. But again, she's allowed to say that. You gotta remember there is lawful speech. Thank you, Larry, for everything you're doing. A lot of people, when you start dredging up Biden administration stuff, they don't really care he's out of office. They're just looking for results. You have to be careful. Right. That's like so crazy, but who knows what was done to make him do it? He doesn't look well, right? So there's something there. But he could have been operated too. Again, below it. I think he may have abused drugs somewhere in his life. That may be, not be it, but that's coming up. I don't know if it's true again. I mean, he might be one of them cannabis guys, and that's where his psychosis took him. Thank you, sir. Try to put nudity everywhere. Watch as the official house account. That's kind of weird. That whole daddy's home thing. Again, you're lacking a certain decorum with that kind of thing. Did it cause those tail things to go in because it hit the ground? Let me see what that one. So we want those tails to go up when it hits the ground. See how it goes down? Right. So a modification to that thing is to take those fins. I don't know if it hit the ground and it did that, or it's trying to close them in to the front. It should just swing them to the back. Or maybe that's not, doesn't work for something, I don't know, but it looks like they, because you could lose a few feet off of that. See how it goes forward, and it could catch the dirt. If it goes back, like like a parachute almost. But I mean, of course, it's a lot of weight and all that. So it's kind of working against itself there. The tail fins, now they go forward. I don't know what caused that, but that could catch the ground and stop some of that forward movement. Well, these are pretty, emotionally charged arrests, and that's what everybody should realize.
Give me your badge and your name. You guys have no warrant. You fucking assholes. You should be ashamed. You fucking putos.
But in reality, they could be working for the cartels too, certain elements inside of it. A lot of crazy people in the world. What we got here? Jeez. I guess that's propaganda stuff. Yeah, bring up Bill Gates. Sometimes I think Democrats put that stuff up there just to make the Republicans look bad. We don't hear about Bill Gates. Go away. Right. So you shouldn't hit somebody's arm. Caution. Yeah, just tell them to disregard the phone, act like the phone's not there. Right. But, focus on her and pushing her back, and then it looks more appropriate. Thank you. Tell them to just don't even think about the phone. Just focus on the person, put their hands towards the person instead of towards the phone. Now, the phone itself is the closest thing to him, most likely. But again, the courts could see that as something else. Well, this is kind of a game. What he's actually talking about is a game these employers play. And some of them are, like I said, Republican donors. They know it's the low wage. So the will of rich people bring them here. Do you understand how that works? That's crazy. No woman is worth any of that. Right. You just go to God, and God will tell you that. Right. Thank you, Larry. Oh, yeah, I got to speak about the LDS. So, what happens is, in the religions, the haves take over, and the have-nots, they fall into the background. So that's why you get this karma thing going on, where you get what you put in, right? Well, because they're haves. And a lot of haves, they don't even understand hard work. Because on a have life, you're routed, not misrouted. That's what somebody else does to a person. Again, you could cause somebody to go down in life by whatever statement or curse you put on them, and then that's if you're actually, like what I do is something different. This is what Jesus did. It goes through God. Right. So, you just be careful that, again, the idea is what Israel's doing right now. They said that there was issues with how soldiers were treating people, and they're dealing with it. Same thing. That's all you do. I mean, there's no reason to back them to the point that they're committing crimes. Right. So the haves will take over, and their lives are just routed. So they get payback. You may not get 100% payback. So like in perception, they're like, well, I've tried to do something and I couldn't get there, and I pushed through, but you really didn't push through like everybody else does, because you're a have. And you could be just a middle-class person and be a have. Right. People are crazy. Yeah, y'all drunk probably, right? Reptilians. So, you just have to maintain the decorum. It's not to brutalize people. So again, remember that, or even commit any crimes. Nah, it's the way the planet's structured. And in your mind, you don't see certain people deserving anything. It's like they don't see I deserve it. It's all BS. Again, the people that are doing this to me should be in prison. And then I would have naturally have received. Right. No, it's a form of racketeering what they're doing. Horse driver in the Himalaya. This dude doing? You went wacko. Now, you ain't going to see me ever getting salt water again, unless there's some reason I need to. With what's going on, you won't even see me in Florida living in any of them areas. Well, again, learn from this. There's no reason to be laughing about it. So, eaten alive by mosquitoes. So, make sure, again, we have people working there too. So, we need to maintain mosquito-borne disease. Or not maintain. We need to, control mosquito. So this is actually, so you can actually read their stuff and figure out how to fix something. Right. So what you want to do is you want to, do whatever it is you can to reduce mosquitoes, because it'll be attracted to that area. We do have a lot of staff, National Guard, and other people that will be there. So this is important to respond to, because we have a need to control mosquito-borne illnesses. So that's some intel. Trying to get this written out while I'm walking. It's not so easy. That's pretty good. Next step, we need to figure out, okay, another one. You need to, they said it brought up the term hurricane evacuation plan. You need to come up with one of those. Thank you. Let me get back. Thank you, Larry. You see, you can read their stuff, and you can figure it out. All right. Thank you, Larry. Good stuff, right? So this morning I ordered some, what do they call, pistachios, no salt, but they were roasted, but it didn't seem to add to the fat. So they're low enough in saturated fat and enough have enough good fats, right? And it also showed something to me. It says when you eat an almond, you don't have that flavor. So even though these are more expensive, you're not going to eat as many to be satiated because of the stronger flavor. I eat them with raisins. I try to like balance raisins and nuts kind of in a mix. Right. Because when you buy trail mix, it's got like junk in it, right? Generally, some of them are okay. Yeah, the Jewish law actually condemns all of us because we're not actually living the way we're supposed to, right? What's I say? Well, like when they started saying, kill the seed of Amalek, I'm like, you're all condemned with the same scripture. Don't do that to yourselves. See? Right. Well, we don't want people coming down with all. You'll sue the United States or whatever government that's there, and right, get money. Correct. And then we have National Guard people and other people also. Right. So I don't have my phone. I don't play Google in it. Probably something right real quick we could Google and figure it out. You don't have to impanel a $7 million study. Pay your cronies. Just Google it. It'll tell you how to control mosquitoes. I mean, it may be something stupid, just like citronella or something. I don't know. Again, that flame though, right? Or that the citronella incense or whatever it is. But there are bug zappers, I guess. I would go with bug zappers. Right. I think that's the quickest, easiest way to do it. I'm not sure how well that'll work, but it should. But you have a lot of light, so I don't know if that's going to work. Actually, I take it back. I have to see if that would work in a lighted area. I mean, it worked to a certain degree. Right. Because you're going to have, I don't know if you're going to mercury halide or what. Right. So that situation, yeah, it screams for a canine. I mean, don't be walking into the woods when you don't have to. Right. Without a dog first. Right. Because a dog would have jumped him. Right. I mean, it could be that the video was rolling. But if I were him, I'd have said, I'm going to call a canine. Right. I don't know if he had access or not, but. He'd have found him because the dog would have bit him. Because he probably would attack the dog. Unless he has a fear there and he may have given up. But he sounded, I guess, supposedly pretty cocky. Right. But that's what we use canine for generally. That was the reason it probably was brought on the most, having to walk into some dark place without having the dog go first. Right. Thanks, Larry. Agreed, sir. That's a shame because that's a perfect canine type of scenario. Thanks, Larry. Well, we can, like, I don't know what you all do, but the FBI is supposed to be sending out hints and DHS and all that. So that would be something you should send out. We said we recently had a situation where an officer ended up in critical care because of critical care. Here. Weirdo stuff. A lot of weirdo stuff out there. Thanks. So, so you send out a notice to remember you have canine, or even if you don't have canine, to get canine officers. One of the important aspects of canine is when you're confronted with a dark space, a dark woods, forested area, a dark house, you can let the dog go. And that dog is more likely going to locate the perpetrator. With your limited senses, really taking a big, huge chance. Now, okay. Don't know what the answer is and what happened there, but if it's a case where it's a mistaken identity, then make sure you document that. I was looking for so-and-so, and I walked up to this woman. She appeared to be that person, and she was detained for this reason. So make sure you have all the information. And then if you ask the officers to write those reports all the time, then they're more cognizant of what they're doing because they don't want to have to write the reports. Right. Right, thanks. So you want to CYA, you want to, say I had a picture of somebody or I had a description and I thought the person matched the description. But you're going to get a lot of that because there's so many more operations. Or just by, like, if you have 500 operations, you'll have a certain percentage of misidentification. If you have 10,000 operations, you still probably have a similar percentage of misidentifications, but now you have a larger number because you have 10,000 operations going on. So that's most likely what's going on. So what you see in like what's going on in Israel, again, I wouldn't say much because you're like you're saying too much. All right. Obviously, we probably know where anything was moved to. Right? At least Israel does. I guess we have satellites up there, so I'm sure we do. So what I'm getting at is, just don't say too much. Right. Well, this is intelligence sensitive everything. Just say, well, that's one version of one report. We're not going to speak on it because we don't speak on this. Because they're getting you to speak more and more. So they're learning about what we do, what we know, what we don't know. And again, you might be saying some things to them. Right. This might be one of those cases, and again, it is what it is. This guy might actually be pro-American. I mean, it sounds like he is, because some people come here and their whole life picks up. Right. Well, being in the military in your homeland doesn't. I mean, he came of age, he joined the military. Same thing happens here. Now, it's a case-by-case basis. Is all I'm getting at. He may have planned to be the best American he could ever be, but again, if he's not here lawfully, then he's not. But it sounds like the marriage visas you really got to be careful of, right? Unless you detect something. I mean, he's an Iranian sniper, but it doesn't mean that he's an Iranian operative. It's two different things, right? What would have been nice is if he could have, would have been a sure thing if he kind of hooked up with, I guess you don't know, because you could have hooked up with Reza Pahlavi to spy, but, right. I don't know why he had his ID card. It doesn't make any sense. But, right. So there's something going on with the missionaries. So it's pretty funny. They keep switching out missionaries, and so you have different people, And missionaries, they're not perfect; they're human. But it's funny. Something was shown the other day, so I'm not investigating it. It's just it's a suggestion for the LDS that'll eventually come out. I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let it play out. It's just funny how it all fell apart in an instant. Now, this is weird. I actually had that happen in Oklahoma in the reverse. The hurricane or the tornado sirens were in Norman. I was over by I was in that extended stay, right? And then it didn't revert. All of a sudden, I guess like that, it was there, and then it just disappeared. But it was actually there for an extended period of time. So it disappears, and then within within 30 seconds, the sirens went. So I actually saw that weather pattern disappear, and then they turned off the sirens. Now, Mike Lee went over the edge on several things. I don't know what put him over the edge. Right. He's not being a good LES person either. But no, he's really going over the edge a little bit too much. And maybe that's why they didn't select him. Right. Look at the hair. They have similar facial features too. God's been doing that to me. It's not that we're genderless, but it's like when you look at men and women, like women put on makeup, so it's hard to tell how manly they look. But God, God's been doing a lot of stuff. He isn't saying there's no gender, but again, it's all possession of the mind that alters this. And a lot of times the people that are saying it shouldn't be are the ones that are causing that possession. Because they, make money off it. They make secondary gains. Oh, that's a nice jacket there, Abbott. Well, the way I help people that maybe I don't agree with is a way that, it's the way you go with the Russians, and right, it's how you move interpersonal relations. Again, we should have met with the Russians. We should have met with North Koreans. We should have met with everybody we say is our enemy. There's nothing wrong with meeting with them. Right. But you're never going to develop a real relationship with that person. It just doesn't make any sense. I agree. We agree, Larry. I don't know who told you that what you're all doing is right. They developed this thing in spy world to keep themselves rich and anti-powerful in reality. I would doubt the thing would reach the United States, but they're saying Pakistan might be developing a nuclear weapon to get to the United States. Yeah, these things are scary. Yeah, all the agents should wear those. They just, what's happening is, I think they know about the extortion machine online, so that's why they're coming against the wearing of those masks. Now, a lot of them have your identity anyway. No, there's a racketeering extortion machine that's online. I don't know who's running them all, but that's part of what I test. Right. And then it also, in the gym and stuff like that, I look for possible reactions there. Again, I can't investigate. FBI has to. I can only set it up. Well, they may not get arrested, but at least you know who everybody is, right? Correct. You don't want somebody on your task force. It's like a piece of garbage, Right. I agree. Yeah, but you're a have, and you live the have life. Boy, Kate Packer. Match Slap. Well, it's the name Match Slap. Is this the guy who owns the Chevrolet dealer or something, or is that a different Match Slap? Is he a Chevrolet dealer? I think it's a Chevrolet. I don't approve of trans and female leagues mixed, but what I that's a good one. So it's just weird. It gets weird if your system, okay, so there's a lot of missionaries that look like that, and you're like a 60-year-old man, and you spend time with them. Oh yeah, I'll join your religion. But it does get weird, right? Well, I take a standpoint, of I don't judge it, I witness it, and if there's some points that I can think of, I give them, right? The thing is saying bye. Bye is not a good salutation to leave people with, and that's really important to understand. Well, because a lot of people don't say bye because it's so final. And again, LDS says it isn't final, correct? Even if it takes 1,000,000 years, it's not final, right? Correct. No, it's interesting what the scriptures really are. I've been speaking about it for years. There's a lot of traps in the scriptures, right? But it's, to bring you out. It's like an ink blot. It's like an ink blot test. But I mean, there's more to it than that, but it is also an ink blot test. See, I wonder if the Democrats put these out. Breaking, Cash Patel uncovers private Clinton emails with Chinese officials discussing uranium details. Because if you see enough of that, like, you won't believe anything Cash Patel or Pam Bondi says. But, like, they may not have said that. That's PSYOP. Thank you, Larry. Well, that's one of the problems helping people understand. They're always, like, even the Democrats would generally have, so even if they're like grew up in a ghetto or something, like what's her name, the talking head woman, they call them influencers, the black woman, Candace O. Yeah, Candace O. She's a have, even though she had a good family, which allowed her to have my family trashed me. Agents and spies are finally getting through a little bit, and they're telling me, oh my God, your family is such a backstabber. Now, when Jonathan Luna was killed, there's allegations of stabbing in the back, which, that could have been a murder. That was, because they go, right. I mean, he could have done it, because again, anything can happen when they drug you. And we were drugged back then, I guarantee it. Right. And that's where it led. It led to LSD really quick. Thank you, Larry. Thanks, Larry. Well, they would stab him in the back because they say because they're wacko. The people that do that shit are wacko. They may have called him a backstabber. Right? They're nuts. Rick Henry was nuts. Karen Shelton was nuts. Now, they may not have killed him, but they would be part of it. Right. Thanks, Larry. No, absolutely nuts. Then they take their victim and try to make them, mentally ill because, again, it's that insecurity within them. Right. The government's got tons of nut people. They're absolutely crazy. These Michigan exploited crazy people. Then they say, well, we need to be like this so we can stop crime. What do you see with crime since 20 years ago? What do you see? It got worse, right? 100% correct. So they never do what they say they're doing. They create people like this. And then say, oh, every victim that they want to victimize is like this person and they have to stop them. But they never stop this guy, right? That's the key. Yeah, but that doesn't mean, again, I wouldn't say all of them because they're obviously dismissing cases and stuff, but there's a large percentage of that 70% that had removal orders. It's that simple. They never said that they were going to stop removing people with removal orders. Thanks, Larry. The dismissing case thing, again, that's obviously triggered by something they do, but some of this is just cleaning up what's going on or what has been going on. Like Biden wasn't removing people that have removal orders. And then, of course, coming in, there's additional removal orders that need to be effectuated. Very clear. And then some of the cases are just looking at it going, why is this person on the street? Right. Well, they failed to move forward in the process. Well, again, these are special irregular immigration processes. These are not regular immigration processes. There are no guarantees. Well, I would tell you, if you carried yourself differently while you were here, you probably wouldn't have these problems. And you all know what I'm talking about. There are racketeering organizations in all these foreign communities. And if the deep state calls them, they work. Right. Criminal enterprises also. We're not going to bust everybody because some people have connected and given money to certain people and certain organizations, and they don't want to be, right. So they'll just kind of deport, but they're not necessarily going to arrest. Yeah, we need plate readers. It's not, again, there's no surveillance state that's a device. A surveillance state is people. If you get good people in there, then it's not a surveillance state. It saves people and helps people. Correct. We agree, Larry. Yeah, America did have a pretty good system for disabled people. You just had to like clean up the rolls, and that would probably be it. I mean, you don't harass people, but again, the idea is to tighten up people coming in, and eventually you get attrition and all that, right? What we got here?
And they're going to be giving $1,500 to $1,000 per legal. How are you going to stop us from coming through? Because we don't have to worry about warrants. We don't really have to follow too many of the laws. And if we're going to be deputized by ICE, we can pretty much do anything we want. They're already going over there and creating the squads as we speak now. That's why they called me. So as soon as I get back to my squad in Tacoma, we will be coming down the state. $1,000 per illegal is a pretty good price just to do things that you kind of enjoy. How or what you guys are going to do to stop that? Are you going to pay us more? Are you going to pay us $2,000 to just leave them alone? Well, that's not right. That's your problem. If you don't.
All right, so we're going to have to ask you to.
Who knows if that's true? Like, you don't even know if that guy's telling the truth. Right. He could be getting ready to go out and crucify a Christian preacher. You don't know. Right. Well, theoretically, we can use military intelligence people to find people. So that's a big part of it. So they can start developing that, doing the administrative work on the computer. I think they can make phone calls. You'd have to check that one out. Like do phone interviews. Right. Call a place of business or whatever it is you would do to try to find that person. Thank you very much. Thanks, Larry. They call it analyst. Military can do analyst work, right? Whatever that limit of analyst work is. Again, just because you haven't done it with an analyst doesn't mean that you can't. The reason I say military intelligence, because they're highly cleared. They usually have top secret, I believe. Right. Now, you may want to do a cursory check just to make sure, which would really bite if they lost their top secret. But right. Thank you, Larry. This would be an issue. Well, that's enough. All right, so. Oh, I got an hour. That's nice. All right, stay peaceful. Praise God in all that you do. Try to get this thing up so I can get offline. Praise God.